Chapter 8 Earth. The earth has fruit trees, vegetables, animals, and fish, water in springs, in rivers, and in oceans. When men advanced out of primitive times, the earth became land for planting and breeding. The earth became the place of rain coverage and sun shade. On the earth are houses, roads, bridges, resorts, and a lot of buildings. The earth also brings fragrant flowers which make life more joyous. The earth has beautiful and grandiose landscapes. Those things bring peace to life. Looking at the earth, we can see the image of peace. That is the material aspect. Regarding the spiritual aspect, we see on the earth men loving men, men helping men, animals loving animals, animals helping animals. There are men and there are animals living gently together. That is the image of a spiritual peace. We have peace when our material and spiritual needs are filled. The earth shows that constructing what is beneficial to life is constructing a peaceful dwelling. The earth is the origin of the peaceful dwelling, supports it, maintains it, is beneficial to it. We get the idea of the peaceful dwelling from the earth. The earth can become dry and stunts the growth of fruit trees and vegetables. There are earthquakes, floods and fires. There are men killing men, animals eating animals, of the same kind or of different kinds. There are men and animals who detest one another, fight one another, deceive one another, kill one another. The earth is low. The low is the mean. The earth shows that constructing what is not beneficial to life is constructing an unpeaceful dwelling. The earth is the origin of the unpeaceful dwelling, supports it, maintains it, is beneficial to it. We get the idea of the non-peaceful dwelling from the earth. Chapter 9, Heaven. In the sky there is morning and the night, there is rain and wind. Light and darkness can determine the time for work and the time for rest. Rain brings nutrients for vegetables and flowers. Wind brings cool. The sky is high, it lifts up human spirit, high is noble. The sky is blue, beautiful, and clear. Those things contribute to peace. Heaven shows us the things that are beneficial for life construct the peaceful dwelling. Heaven is the origin of the peaceful dwelling, harbors it, endures it, is beneficial to it. We have the idea of the peaceful dwelling from heaven. In the sky there are storms and thunders. The sky brings unusual and excessive hot and cold. The sky causes many disasters. The sky is dark. Looking at the sky we can see the image of unpeace. Heaven is the origin of the unpeaceful dwelling, harbors it, endures it, is beneficial to it the unpeaceful dwelling. We have the idea of the unpeaceful dwelling from heaven. Chapter 10. The Holy. In the sky there are divinities. Divinities are the image of the holy. The holy is the essence of a god. A god who is not holy is not a god anymore. The holy is also named goodness or the good. The sky is blue. The blueness, especially the deep blueness, of the sky harbors divinities. We have heavenly king or god. God's kingdom on the sky. There are many divinities and God is the highest divinity. Why does God reign in the sky? Today science does not see God in heaven. The story of the heavenly king or God is only an old story or a story of religious faith. But men have an idea of goodness. The good is also named the holy. The holy lifts men upwards, up to the noble. The sky is high. God is the image of the holy and he is on the high or in the sky. Regarding existence we can say that there is no God. The existence or the non-existence of God is beyond human knowledge. A lot of people think that if there is God, he is not like the image produced by religions for him. However, if God is the image of the holy or goodness, we are able to say that there is God. This God is not God of material graces of this shore, he is God of the other shore or of the way. Therefore when we behold God, we do not behold him only as reigning in the sky. If we keep that view only, there was, there is and there will be a debate of the existence of such a God. The present situation of the debate is that science does not see such a God, even though it does not deny the existence of such a God. It does not see such a God in the sky, and only faith is able to save the existence of such a God. When we behold God, we have to behold the holy, of which God is the image. If God is the image of the holy, goodness, there is God. It is the holy or goodness that contributes to the peaceful dwelling of men. The holy or goodness is the origin of the peaceful dwelling, supports it, maintains it, is beneficial to it. We have the idea of the peaceful dwelling from the holy or goodness. The opposite of the holy is evil. Evil is the image of unpeace. Evil is the origin of the unpeaceful dwelling, supports it, maintains it, is beneficial to it. We have the idea of the unpeaceful dwelling from evil. The holy plays a special role in the peaceful dwelling. The holy contains love. Buddhism praises compassion. Compassion is loving everybody, and compassion rises to returning gratitude to hatred. Returning gratitude to gratitude is easy. We love those who love us is ordinary, even though we damage those who love us often happens, also. But returning gratitude to hatred is hard. Christianity says that God is love. Jesus has this teaching, love your enemies. Love those who love you is easy. Love your enemies is hard. But we should advance to the level of thinking that returning gratitude to hatred or love your enemies are not only because of hatred or enemies but mainly because of us. We know that love brings peace and hatred brings unpeace. If we want to live always in peace, we have to live always in love. Whenever we live in hatred, we lose peace. The holy demands returning gratitude to hatred or love your enemies. Therefore it is possible to say that we should become demigods, demigods because we are not able to become gods, or sages. Enemies indicate, in a vast meaning, not only those who damage us but also those who are contrary to us. In this world there are so many enemies. For sages, those who cause damage to us or are contrary to us are things happening every day, and therefore these incidents are meaningless. If we do not become holy, we cannot live in peace. That is why Jesus teaches us not to judge, because this often happens, and he says, "Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eyes?" We need to be content and joyful in all situations. Hatred and even worry wears our spirit down. Spiritual weariness affects our body. Chuang-Tzu tells the following story. Mr. Lack-Lim and Mr. Lamegate were looking at the graves in the wild of Kunlun, where the Yellow Emperor entered into his rest. Suddenly tumors began to grow on their left wrists, which made them distressed. The former said, "Do you resent it?" "No," replied the other, "why should I resent it? Life is an entrusted thing. I was born as entrusted. Such an entrusted thing is only a pile of dust. Life and death, like day and night, follow each other. And you and I were looking at the process of change. If now change is coming to me, why should I dislike it? We have to disregard evil in order that we are able to live in peace." Chuang-Tzu has the view that the way is totality. This totality contains the right and the wrong, the good and the evil. We do not distinguish the right and the wrong, the good and the evil in order for us to live in peace. We should remind ourselves of this fact. Living in peace is hard to achieve, it is not easy to enter Eden. We have to pay incessant attention and make unceasing effort. Chapter 11. The mortal. On the earth there are flowers which blossom in the morning and wilt in the evening. Birth and death happen everywhere and at all times. In the sky the same thing occurs. Clouds gather together and then disperse. Dawn arises and sunset falls. The earth and the sky show us the impermanence of all things. Regarding men, that impermanence takes place at death. Life does not last a long time. Death is a fear to men. Even with the progress of medicine, life is prolonged, but man cannot conquer death. Maybe that is the reason for the births of religions with an eternal life after death. Right when a person is born, he is old enough to die. Dust returns to dust. But the shadow of death is not only a fear, on the contrary, it is able to help in the construction of a peaceful dwelling. It helps us to decrease the worries and burdens of life. If we know that life is short, how can we worry, or at least worry too much? We often persuade ourselves, one cannot bring with him anything at death. The mortality, helps us to decrease greed, to decrease attachment to money, love, and fame, to decrease deceit, killing for more possession. Living under the shadow of death takes away laboriousness and heaviness of life. Life is not deserved too much work and too much time. The mortal also reminds us of the preciousness of life. Life is too short. Therefore let us not squander it. It is a big loss not to know how to live a happy life. A minute or a second of sadness is a waste. We should remember this fact. It is not easy to live a gentle life. The saying life is an ocean of sorrow reminds us of the truth. We have to pay attention to this truth, and we have to make a continuing effort, a repeated renovation on the journey to happiness. Happiness is vast and has many different stages or situations. How to live a life which is happier than the richest man's one? We should remember that the Buddha left a royal life and looked for a happier life. King of Chu invited Chuangzi to take charge of all within his territories, but Chuangzi chose to keep his humble but free life. Not everybody is able to become rich. But it seems that everybody is able to live a life which is happier than a richer man's one. Jesus said to his disciples, "I tell you the truth, it is hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Again, I tell you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God." So it seems that it is easier for a poor man to live a happy life than for a rich man. This view seems not to be completely right, however it is at least a guide for a poor man. It is hard for a very poor man to practice the way. According to Mencius, when people do not have enough, they only try to save themselves from death, and are afraid they will not succeed. What leisure have they to cultivate the way? A man who has enough or relatively enough in money and knows how to live according to the way as the Fourfold should have a good life. Man often worries about death. The mortal reminds us of the truth that death is only an ordinary fact. Just when one is born, he is old enough to die. According to Chuangzi's doctrine, the way is the total. Life belongs to that total, and death also belongs to that total. In other words, life and death are the same. Life and death are the changes or variations of the total. It is said that a man who attained the way considers death as nothing, and nothing means no death. When we say that a man who attained the way does not die, we say in the direction of that meaning. We do not understand the way as the total. But with mortal we peacefully see the event of death. Death is what naturally takes place. Indeed, the nowadays scientific knowledge says that this earth will go away and even this universe will go away. Life is too short, there is no time for worry and for sadness. Chuangzi says, "How do I know that the dead do not repent of their former craving for life?" Chuangzi says through a skull's words, "In death there are not the distinctions of ruler above and minister below. there are none of the phenomena of the four seasons. Tranquil and at ease, our years are of heaven and earth. No king in his court has greater enjoyment than we have. When Chuangtzu's wife died, Huizi went to console with him, finding him squatting on the ground drumming on the basin and singing. Huizi reproached Chuangtzu. The latter replied, when his wife first died, he was affected by the event. But then he reflected on the commencement of her being, not yet born to life, she had no bodily form, not only had she no bodily form, she had no breath. During the intermingling of the waste and dark chaos there ensued a change, and there was breath, another change and there was bodily form, another change, and there came birth and life. There is now a change again, and she is dead. The relation between these things is like the procession of the four seasons from spring to autumn, from winter to summer. Now she lies with her face up, sleeping in the great chamber between heaven and earth. If he were to fall sobbing and go on to wail for her, he should think he did not understand what was appointed for all. He therefore restrained himself. To express the attachment of death to human life, we call a human being mortal. The mortal indicates not only a man will die, but also and essentially man has to live always in the shadow of death. The mortal itself takes part in the founding of the human peaceful dwelling. The mortal is the origin of the peaceful dwelling, supports it, maintains it, is beneficial to it. So is the immortal dangerous to the peaceful dwelling? Man knows that he is not immortal. The immortal is used to speak about gods. Immortal can be used to speak about the human next life. Religions use immortal for the next life in paradise or nirvana. If because of the immortal or fever-lasting happiness of the after-death life a man has to sacrifice his present life, that immortal is unbeneficial to the peaceful dwelling. If it is because of the immortal happiness that a person lives a holy life, that immortal is beneficial to the peaceful dwelling. Heaven, earth, the holy and mortal show us the way leading to the peaceful dwelling. Chapter 12. The Fourfold. The fourfold is earth, heaven, the holy, and the mortal. Question: is there the presence of the fourfold? Answer: yes, there is the fourfold. Let us take an example. We see a chalice. How are we able to see the chalice? First of all, we see the chalice as a thing used to hold wine. Wine is composed of water and grapes. Water is from a spring. A spring is a stream of water flowing on the earth. When we talk about wine, we talk about earth. Earth is the common name for things. In the chalice is the presence of earth. Water in a spring is from the rain which falls down from the sky. In the chalice is the presence of heaven. Wine in the chalice is presented to God or the divinities. In the chalice is the presence of the divinities. Mortal men consecrate wine to immortal gods. In the chalice is the presence of the mortals. The chalice in the example is the clear presence of the fourfold. In another thing the presence of the fourfold can be less clear. In a house, for example, we see the clear presence of earth and sky. A house is made of brick, wood, earth, to shelter from sunlight and rain, sky. Man lives in the house, and the presence of mortals and divinities is not clear. But if we add an altar of ancestors or God, the presence of divinities and mortals becomes clear. In our daily life, we are able not to pay attention to the presence of the fourfold. But there is the presence of the fourfold. This presence is not made or created by us or our mind. This presence is brought or given to us by the environment which we live in. The presence of the fourfold happens and at the same time shows us the way to a peaceful dwelling. Heaven is more dominant than earth because heaven has two important qualities, noble and harboring divinities or the holy. Ancient people often said the way of heaven and earth or simply the way of heaven. They did not say or seldom said the way of earth. In the Book of Change, earth has to follow heaven. The Book of Change begins with the hexagram of heaven and then the hexagram earth. Earth is said to follow heaven on the construction of the way. Confucius begins his great commentary, in the Book of Change, with the following sentence: the heaven is high, the earth is low, thus hexagram heaven and hexagram earth are determined. The high and the low are set out, thus the noble and the mean have their places. The divinities are in the sky. If a divinity loses his holy, he is punished to descend to the underworld or the earth. When a man follows the way of heaven, he is given earth as his estate. Earth is man's estate because he builds his peaceful dwelling on the earth and not in the sky. When the earth loses its lowness or meanness, it is in harmony with the heaven. There is the fourfold and there is a material thing. The fourfold happens in human relation to a thing. In other words, man realizes the fourfold in a thing. In a man's view of a chalice, a thing, there is material, crystal, and there is the fourfold. We can use the term the twofold to call the happening at the same time of crystal and the fourfold. This is a real reality, but until today mankind has not seen it clearly. In reality, man sees only material, crystal, without seeing the fourfold. Man adds a number of abstract determinations, categories, thought from the view of crystal to crystal, and man thinks that crystal and those determinations make up a chalice. When seeing the fourfold, mankind has made a long move forward. We have just talked about the way as the fourfold. Where is the fourfold, inside man or outside man? We see that the fourfold is not made or imagined by man. Only by seeing sky and earth, man sees the fourfold. But if there is no man, there is not the fourfold. That is the reason why the question is the fourfold inside man or outside man should not be asked. The fourfold is both inside man and outside man. Knowing how to see the fourfold is knowing how to find a peaceful dwelling. Seeing the earth, what to do to found a peaceful dwelling. Seeing the sky, what to do to found a peaceful dwelling. Seeing the divinity / the holy, what to do to found a peaceful dwelling. Seeing the mortals, what to do to found a peaceful dwelling. Because peaceful dwelling is a boundless domain, this what to do changes according to the grades of enlightenment. A suggesting remark: seeing the earth and the sky, we easily find out what is founding and what is destroying a peaceful dwelling. Seeing the divinities, we have to abandon the view of the Almighty Creator whom we can pray for material graces. We have to see in the divinities or God the Holy in order to live with grace. For hate and love your enemies, there is only love and without hate. We have to become demigod. Seeing the mortals, we throw away greed, attachment to money, sexual, love and fame and live in serenity. Regarding this point, we can remind us of Chuang-Tzu's saying, "Don't live with outside things, live with the way in you." This is a fact. There is peaceful dwelling. The way that leads to the peaceful dwelling is different from the ordinary way and the way of the present world. The Western philosophy does not ask the question of the way or of the peaceful dwelling, it does not see the way. That is the forgetfulness of being in the Western philosophy. Heidegger talks about setting aside the traditional beginning of philosophy. Heidegger names it the first beginning. He wants to open another beginning of thinking for mankind. He aims at throwing away a civilization of evil and desolation and at opening a civilization of the holy humanity. Chapter 13. The Fourfold and Human Thought. Ancient people looked for the way like we are doing now. The Buddha, enlightened at the foot of the Bodhi tree, teaches the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Way. The Four Noble Truths tell about suffering, the origin of suffering, the cessation of suffering and the path leading to the cessation of suffering. The cessation of suffering leads to the peaceful dwelling or happiness. Nirvana means the cessation of suffering. The Buddha says, good, Anuradha. Formerly, Anuradha, and also now, I make known just suffering and the cessation of suffering. Confucius teaches what leads to the peaceful dwelling. He writes in the Great Learning, what the Great Learning teaches is, to illustrate illustrious virtue, to renovate the people, and the rest in the highest goodness. Rest indicates a peaceful dwelling. Lao Tzu opens the way to a peaceful dwelling. It is the uncarved that curbs the desires. Without desires, there will be stillness, the world will be in peace by. The unnamed uncarved denotes the way. The way brings peace for individuals as well as society. Jesus teaches the way that leads to an easy and light dwelling. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Rest denotes a peaceful dwelling. Martin Heidegger is the philosopher who talks about being, the way, as the fourfold. In other words, Heidegger sees the fourfold. The traditional philosophy does not see the fourfold. However, according to Heidegger, the poet Hölderlin sees being as the fourfold, and the poet Trickle also sees the fourfold. But, according to many views, Hölderlin and Trickle see the fourfold through Heidegger's interpretation. Jesus talks about earth, heaven, God, and man. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Our Father, in heaven, hallowed be your name, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. If in heaven there is God or the holy needs to be done on earth. The harmony of heaven, earth, God, and man is the way. Jesus says he is the way, truth, and life. The way, as the harmony of heaven, earth, God, and man, is truth. Other ways are not truth. The way in Jesus' teaching is peaceful life. Other ways are not peaceful life. The present world is evil and the present life is not peaceful because its way is not the way of the harmony of heaven, earth, God, and man. The Book of Change begins with the hexagrams heaven and earth. Yang line denotes heaven and yin line earth. The hexagram heaven is composed of 6 yang lines and the hexagram earth 6 yin lines. Each other hexagram, there are 64 hexagrams in the Book of Change, is composed of 6 yang and yin lines. The entire Book of Change talks about the way as heaven and earth. According to hexagrams there are 64 situations of the way. According to lines there are 384, or 386 if a 7th line is added to hexagrams heaven and earth, situations of the way. There are situations talking about the accomplishment of the way and there are situations about the failure of the way. The way brings peace, hexagram 11, gratification, hexagram 16, joy, hexagram 58. We talk about the way of heaven and earth or the way of heaven. Men wish the way brings a peaceful dwelling and they call it the way of heaven and earth or the way of heaven. The words the way of heaven and earth or the way of heaven harbor a certain image of the fourfold. It is such because the fourfold is always present, even though vaguely, within men. Saying according to Lao Tzu, elusive and evasive, and yet it contains within itself an image. When religions talk about paradise or nirvana in the sky, we are able to say that they respond to the way which naturally resides within men. However, whether the establishment of that paradise or nirvana leads mankind to a peaceful dwelling or not is another problem. If the present world is evil, we can say without mistake that religions are not successful yet. Chuang Tzu talks about the way as nature or about the return to nature. If we understand nature as the way to which men naturally attune, this nature is the fourfold. However, Chuang Tzu does not see so, and his interpretation brings nature far away from the fourfold. He views nature as totality. Therefore nature exists before heaven and earth, before the universe. However, Chuang Tzu attunes to the way residing naturally within men. Therefore Chuang Tzu sees nature as the route that leads men to a serene dwelling or free and easy wandering, enjoyment in untroubled ease, in his language. Free and easy wandering, enjoyment in untroubled ease, means peaceful dwelling. Heidegger clearly sees the fourfold. At other places of human history there are sketches of the fourfold. These sketches are not presented clearly in the direction of the fourfold.